Hello students, I am VLN Swarupini, your lecturer in biochemistry from the Department of Biochemistry, Sri Venkateswara College of Arts and Sciences, which is affiliated to Adikavi Nannaya University, Rajahmundry. Now, I would like to discuss about second BSc Biochemistry, fourth semester biochemistry paper, that is intermediary metabolism. Okay, have intermediary metabolism as biochemistry paper for this semester, and you will be having 5 units. In the first unit you will see about the carbohydrate metabolism, and in unit 2 you will see lipid metabolism, and unit 3 you will see about amino acid metabolism, and unit 4 you will see metabolism of nucleic acids, heme and nitrogen fixation. And in fifth unit, you will see about integration and inborn errors of metabolism. That means whatever the metabolisms we have discussed in the four units, disorders related to those metabolic factors and metabolism will be seen in the unit 5. So let's start with the unit 1, and let's see what is metabolism firstly. Okay. So this is the first unit, carbohydrate metabolism. So let's see what is metabolism. Basically, in our body, thousands of reactions takes place at a single time. Okay, and here our body is made up of thousands and thousands of cells, and each and every cell undergo many reactions at a time. Okay, and if we see in nature we have chemical reactions, and that chemical reactions occurring in living system are collectively referred to as metabolism. So here, what is metabolism? Entire spectrum of chemical reactions. That means whatever the chemical reactions completely taking place in our body, that means in the living system, are collectively called as metabolism. Okay, and here we have different kinds of metabolic pathways in which different kinds of enzymes help to carry the reactions. Okay, and here if you see a reaction which is taking place in the living system, a metabolite is applied on a substrate. That means a substrate is needed for the enzyme to show its effect. Okay, and this reaction between the metabolite and the substrate with the enzyme will help us to form a product. Okay, so in this manner reactions will take place. And metabolism, if you take metabolism on a whole, it is divided into two types, catabolism and anabolism. Okay, reactions which are present in metabolism are two types, catabolism and anabolism. First, let's see about catabolism. Okay, so this is the simply catabolism means breakdown of complex molecules into simpler molecule. Okay, here catabolism means breakdown of complex molecule into simpler molecule. Okay, if you see the definition, the degradative process concerned with the breakdown of complex molecule to simpler molecule once with a cons- concomitant concomitant release of energy. Okay, and here this importance of catabolism is for the release of energy. Okay, here to release some energy in the form of ATP and also in the form of NADPH. Okay, so energy will be released during the catabolism process. Okay, So how this happens in our body, let's see. Okay, it occurs in three stages. First one is conversion of complex molecules into their building blocks, and in the second step formation of simple intermediates will be seen, and in the third step final oxidation of acetyl CoA. So on a whole, if we see our metabolism as a catabolic pathway, we can consider it into three steps, that is conversion of complex molecules into their building blocks. Building blocks means nothing but their subunits, and second step will be formation of simple intermediates, and finally the final oxidation of acetyl CoA. Okay, final oxidation of acetyl CoA. So here if we see first step, in this first step, uh, take our diet as an example. We eat rice. Okay, rice are nothing but polysaccharides. Okay, major part of the rice is starch. Starch is a polysaccharide. So these polysaccharides, under as the first step, they are broken down into monosaccharides, and whatever the lipid content we eat, these are converted into free fatty acids and glycerol, and proteins are broken down into amino acids. So in this manner the complex molecules what we are taking in, so these are broken down into smaller simpler molecules, which are the building blocks of themselves. That means here monosaccharides are the building blocks of polysaccharides, and amino acids are the building blocks of proteins, and fatty acids and glycerol they make up to form lipids. So finally polysaccharides are broken down into monosaccharides, and lipids are broken down into free fatty acids and glycerol. Proteins are broken down into amino acids. So in the first step complex molecules are broken down into building blocks. So in the second step, whatever the simple compounds or simpler molecules produced in the first step, these will undergo different kinds of metabolic pathways and metabolic cycles to form intermediate products. Okay, so let's see how this is happening. Okay, here the building blocks which are produced in the first stage are degraded to simple intermediates like pyruvate and acetyl CoA. Okay, so these are majorly produced by metabolic pathways like glycolysis, Krebs cycle and all. Okay, so finally pyruvate and acetyl CoA, these sort of intermediates are formed, and these intermediates these are further converted into third step. They will lead to third step. Here during the formation of the pyruvate or acetyl CoA, here these intermediate products formation also helps for the for further step, and during this process ATP is required. As we discussed earlier, catabolism, as a result of catabolism energy is released. Okay, right? But here in the second step, this intermediate products formation also utilize some amount of ATP. Okay, so next step, final oxidation of acetyl CoA. So whatever the acetyl CoA is formed in the second step, this is oxidized to form NADH and FADH2. So acetyl CoA is completely oxidized to form CO2. During this reaction, NADH and FADH2 are released, and along with this, and these are oxidized to ATP. ATP is one of the important and major energy source in our body. So if you take Krebs cycle as an example, by final oxidation at the end of the Krebs cycle, will have energy rich molecules. Okay, energy rich molecules like NADH, FADH2 will be produced during this citric acid cycle or Krebs cycle. Okay, and here compounds like pyruvate, succinate, these are derived from carbohydrates, lipids or proteins. If you see overall catabolism, if you see this schematic way, you can understand in a better way. So here polysaccharides, lipids and proteins, these are converted into their building blocks. Polysaccharides are converted into monosaccharides, lipids are converted into fatty acids and proteins are converted into amino acids. Okay, so these three products are converted into their building blocks in the first stage. Okay, so whatever the products are produced in this first step, again in the stage 2 what happens, all these three products undergo different metabolic pathways to form acetyl CoA, and this acetyl CoA will enter citric acid cycle. Okay, it will enter citric acid cycle in the third step to form this NADH and FADH2, and this NADH and FADH2 will enter electron transport chain. Okay, this is how catabolism is carried in our body. Catabolism is carried in our body. Okay, so now let's see about anabolism. So anabolism is just opposite to the catabolism. Catabolism is the breakdown of complex molecule into simpler molecules, and here anabolism is the synthesis of a large variety of complex molecules by taking small molecules. Okay, and here the products like pyruvate or acetyl CoA, which are the intermediates of this citric acid cycle, are used, and finally precursors. Besides these products, precursors availability is also essential, and also energy supply is also required for this particular anabolism reactions. Okay, so coming to intermediate metabolism, as discussed in the syllabus, we'll have different kinds of metabolisms. Okay, so here under the energy metabolism, this metabolism deals with liberation of energy ultimately. Okay, so here metabolism depends on the storage and liberation of energy. So here every concept is related and evolves around the energy. Okay, if you see metabolism of carbohydrates, here carbohydrates are the major source of energy for all the living cells. Okay, glucose, we all know glucose is the major energy source. Okay, and glucose is stored in the form of glycogen. Okay, so as carbohydrates in plants, what happens, these plants utilize carbohydrates in the presence of sunlight, undergo photosynthesis. Okay, and monosaccharide glucose, it is the central molecule in carbohydrate metabolism. Okay, it is a central molecule. That means simply, if you see, carbohydrate metabolism starts with glucose itself. Okay, so this is used to this is utilized as the source of energy. Okay, and non-carbohydrate precursor and also glycogen, these are used, non-carbohydrate precursor are also used to synthesize glucose, and whatever the glucose is produced in our body is stored in the form of glycogen. And whenever our body has depleted this, so whatever the glycogen is stored in the body is released as glucose when our body is having depletion in the energy levels. Okay, and here if you see a normal individuals will have 70 to 100 mg per dial plans of blood glucose level. That means whatever the glucose present in the blood, this is the fasting level. That means when we are fasting, blood glucose levels will be 70 to 100 mg per dl, and our liver plays a key role in monitoring and stabilizing blood glucose levels. Okay, so here in carbohydrate metabolism we have glycolysis, citric acid cycle, and this citric acid cycle has many names. If you say citric acid cycle is also called as Krebs cycle or tricarboxylic acid cycle. Okay, so here glycolysis in which glucose is converted into pyruvate and lactate. Okay, here this glycolysis also have another name called Embden Meyerhof pathway. So here this glycolysis pathway is for the first time identified, explained by Embden and Meyerhof. That's why this particular glycolysis is also called as Embden and Meyerhof pathway. Okay, and the next one is citric acid cycle, and here oxidation of acetyl CoA to CO2 occurs, and the next one is gluconeogenesis. So in the just now I told that non-carbohydrate compounds or non-carbohydrate precursors will also synthesize glucose. So here production of glucose from non-carbohydrate precursors is called as gluconeogenesis. Okay, and next one is glycogenesis. That means formation of glycogen from glucose, and glycogenolysis, breakdown of glycogen to glucose, and hexose monophosphate shunt, which can also be called as pentose phosphate pathway or direct oxidative pathway. So this is an alternative pathway for glycolysis and TCA cycle. Actually in glycolysis what happens, glucose is converted into pyruvate, and this pyruvate is further converted into acetyl CoA, and this acetyl CoA is oxidized to CO2 in the form of tricarboxylic acid cycle or PEP cycle. Okay, so in case of absence of this glycolysis and TCA cycle, that means as an alternative pathway for this glycolysis and TCA cycle, this hexose monophosphate shunt will carried. Okay, so here also oxidation of glucose takes place, and next one is uronic acid pathway. Glucose is converted into glucuronic acid, and this is also an alternative pathway for oxidation of glucose. And galactose metabolism, this galactose metabolism, it is based on the galactose. So how galactose is converted into glucose, and how glucose is converted into galactose. This is the major concept that we'll see in the galactose metabolism. And in the fructose metabolism, we'll see oxidation of fructose to pyruvate, and how fructose and glucose metabolism are interrelated. And also amino, sugar and mucopolysaccharide metabolism also comes under this particular carbohydrate metabolism. So here how amino sugars are synthesized, and how mucopolysaccharides and glycoproteins are synthesized, these particular concepts are also related to carbohydrate metabolism. Okay, so these all concepts are related to carbohydrate metabolism. And here if we see a syllabus regarding this carbohydrate metabolism, we have glycolysis, and in which we'll also see energy yield and fate of pyruvate, and Pasteur effect. All these concepts are related to glycolysis. And next we have Krebs cycle, and in the Krebs cycle, this regulation and energy yield also studied, and later we'll see amphipathic role and anaplerotic reactions which are related to this carbohydrate metabolism, and again glycogenesis, that means conversion of glucose to glycogen and glycogen breakdown to glucose, and pentose phosphate pathway or hexose monophosphate shunt, and we'll also have gluconeogenesis, and photosynthesis is also included in the first unit. We should see these C3 and C4 cycles. Okay, so these are the major concepts that we should see in the first unit. Okay, so let's start with the glycolysis. So this glycolysis is derived from the Greek word. Glycolysis is a Greek word in which glucose or glyco means sugar or sweet, lysis means breakdown. Okay, and here this, as said earlier, glycolysis was identified and explained, demonstrated by Emden and Meyerhoff along with Parnas. Emden, Meyerhoff and Parnas, these are the three scientists who explained this glycolysis metabolic pathway in the year 1940. Okay, so we can also call this as EMP pathway. And if we see the definition of this glycolysis, it is defined as the sequence of reactions converting one molecule of glucose into two molecules of pyruvate or lactate with the production of ATP. Okay, so here what happens? These are sequence of reactions. That means we have this glycolysis is not a single step reaction. We'll have 10 steps or 10 reactions collectively called as glycolysis. From glucose to pyruvate production, we'll say around 10 reactions. And here during this glycolysis process, energy is utilized along with the production. That means both energy is utilized in few steps and energy is released in few steps. And if you see this glycolysis pathway, we can divide this glycolysis pathway into three steps, okay, or three phases. And first stage will be the energy investment phase or priming stage. Okay, so as I said, energy is also utilized during the glycolysis pathway. This is the investment phase. That means, investment means if we are starting a business, what we'll do? We'll invest some amount to by expecting few returns. Okay, so here in this glycolysis pathway, in the first phase, what happens? Energy is invested, and as a result of this investment, what will happen? Energy is also generated. Okay, so first phase is energy investment phase, and second phase will be the splitting phase. Okay, splitting phase, one reaction will be present, and later we'll see energy generation phase. Okay, so as said, glycolysis is a pathway in which glucose is converted into pyruvate, during which energy is generated and also utilized. So here first stage will be energy investment phase, second stage will be splitting phase, and third phase will be energy generation phase. Okay, so these are the three major steps which we see in the glycolysis pathway. Okay, so first let's see silent features of glycolysis. Okay, so this glycolysis takes place in every cell in our body. We have billions, thousands and billions of cells in our body, and each and every cell undergoes this glycolysis pathway, and this glycolysis requires enzymes, okay, to carry the reactions, and all the enzymes required are present in the cytosomal fraction of the cell. So here glycolysis occurs in the cytosol of each and every cell, okay, cytosol of each and every cell. Here glycolysis in the absence of oxygen, if it is occurred, we called it as anaerobic glycolysis, and if oxygen is present, we call it as aerobic method, okay, aerobic pathway. And here in the anaerobic conditions, lactate is the end product. If the aerobic condition is there, aerobic means in the presence of oxygen pyruvate is formed, and in the absence of oxygen lactate is formed, okay. Remember, in the presence of oxygen, that is in the aerobic condition, pyruvate is formed, whereas in the anaerobic condition and in the absence of the oxygen lactate is formed. And here glycolysis is a major pathway for ATP synthesis in tissues lacking mitochondria. So in tissues where mitochondria is not present, their ATP synthesis is majorly carried by glycolysis. So what are such kind of mitochondria absent tissues? Erythrocytes, that means blood cells, cornea, that is which are present in the eyes, and lens, these are also present in the eyes. And glycolysis is very essential for brain, which is dependent on glucose for energy. So here whatever the energy source is produced or ATP produced in our whole body, major part of the ATP is utilized by our brain, okay. Major portion of the ATP is utilized by our brain. So the brain needs higher amounts of glucose, and glycolysis is very essential for that purpose. And this is the central metabolic pathway, which is having different kinds of intermediates, and these intermediates which are present in the glycolysis were also helpful for the synthesis of amino acids and also fat compounds, okay. So let's see the reactions of glycolysis. So as I said earlier, this reactions of glycolysis or glycolysis pathway is in three phases: energy investment phase, and splitting phase, and energy generation phase. So let's see the reactions. So if you see the reactions here, glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate by the enzyme hexokinase or glucokinase, okay. And here this is the first step in the energy investment phase, okay. Here glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate. So what happens means phosphate is added to the glucose. That means here whatever the ATP is there, it is utilized. ATP means adenosine triphosphate, and one phosphate is given to the glucose, and adenosine diphosphate will be left over. So here glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate by the enzyme hexokinase or glucokinase, okay. And this reaction is ATP dependent, and for the utilization or the for activity of this hexokinase or glucokinase enzymes, they require Mg2 plus ions, Mg2 plus ions, okay. So this is a phosphorylation reaction. Next, glucose 6-phosphate is converted into fructose 6-phosphate. Glucose 6 phosphate is converted into fructose 6 phosphate. This is the fructose 6 phosphate. And here the enzyme responsible for this reaction is phosphohexose isomerase. Phosphohexose isomerase. This is a isomerization reaction. Okay, and this is a reversible reaction. So this is a, if you see, this is, first reaction is not a reversible, one directional reaction, whereas glucose 6 phosphate to fructose 6 phosphate is a what? Reversible reaction. Okay, so here isomerization is being taken place. Glucose and fructose are isomers of each other, so these can be interconverted. That's why this is a reversible reaction. And next reaction is fructose 6 phosphate is again phosphorylated to fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. Here phosphofructokinase is the enzyme. This is also a ATP dependent Mg2 plus dependent enzyme. This reaction is a ATP dependent enzyme. Sorry, ATP dependent reaction, and this enzyme is a Mg2 plus dependent. So to complete this reaction, it requires ATP and Mg2 plus. So finally we have fructose 1,6 bisphosphate, and till now what the steps we have discussed, that is glucose to glucose 6 phosphate, glucose 6 phosphate to fructose 6 phosphate, and fructose 6 phosphate to fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. So these three reactions are under energy investment phase, okay, in which we'll have two reactions utilizing ATP. Okay, so next we'll see the splitting phase. Whatever the fructose 1,6 bisphosphate is there, this will split into two products, that is glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate, and the enzyme responsible for this reaction is aldolase. So here the enzyme is aldolase. This will split 6 carbon fructose 1,6 bisphosphate into 3 carbon compounds DHAP and G3P. DHAP and G3P. And now this splitting phase is also completed, and in this splitting phase this DHAP and G3P, these are again interconvertible. That means DHAP can be converted into G3P and G3P is converted into DHAP by the enzyme phosphotriose isomerase. Okay, so now we are entering into the energy generation phase. We are entering into the energy generation phase. Here G3P or glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate is converted into 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate, and here NAD plus is utilized to release NADH plus H plus. Okay, so one inorganic phosphate is taken into the reaction, and at the end NADH plus H plus is released. Okay, 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is converted into 3-phosphoglycerate by the enzyme phosphoglycerate kinase. Phosphoglycerate kinase. Okay, and here ADP is converted into ATP. Okay, so here one phosphate is donated to the ADP and ATP is generated. So here ATP generation step this is. Okay, what step it is? Formation of 3-phosphoglycerate is a ATP production step. Okay, here energy is generated, and here next 3-phosphoglycerate is converted into 2-phosphoglycerate by the enzyme phosphoglyceromutase. Okay, this is also, and here if you see from glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate, each and every reaction is a reversible reaction. Observe it. Okay, and here 3-phosphoglycerate is converted into 2-phosphoglycerate by the enzyme phosphoglyceromutase, and 2-phosphoglycerate is converted into phosphoenol pyruvate by the enzyme enolase, and ultimately phosphoenol pyruvate is converted into pyruvate by pyruvate kinase. So this is the end product for the glycolysis. So during the presence of oxygen, pyruvate is formed, and this pyruvate is spontaneously converted into L-lactate. Okay, L-lactate in the absence of oxygen by using lactate dehydrogenase. So this is the glycolysis pathway. Okay, and if you see energy generation, during this reactions, so during the action of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase will have two NADH molecules produced, and one NADH molecule is equal to 3 ATP. So we have 2 NADH which results in 6 ATP molecules, and later at the phosphoglycerokinase will have 2 ATP, and pyruvate kinase 2 ATP. Total 10 ATPs will be generated. But we should also remove the investment now. So here 2 ATPs were consumed. Total net gain of the ATP is 8 ATP. Okay, 8 ATP is the net gain. Okay, so here this is the concept related to glycolysis. So this glycolysis pathway was identified by Emden, Meyerhoff and Parnas. These are the three scientists collectively worked on this glycolysis pathway. So this is about glycolysis. In the next class we will discuss about the topics which are related to glycolysis, like regulation and Pasteur effect, and also other concepts related to this glycolysis. So please write the notes by seeing this material. When possible, we'll also post you the PDF files. Thank you, students.